What's happening, and welcome to Shop Day. Today we're at DIY Garage in Knoxville, where we have a do-it-yourself auto repair facility. It's an old 1950s model service station that they completely redid, put in some really nice lifts, give you all the tools that you need, and allow you to rent out bay space so you can work on your own vehicle. Now, I've been beating and banging on Apple for over 100,000 miles now, all over the United States, coast to coast. If you want to see some videos like that, go check out some of the other videos on the channel. That being said, it's time to show her a little bit of love. I wanted to put her up onto the lift, get a good perspective of what's going on with all the different components inside, and I wanted to change out the front and rear differential fluids as well as the transfer case fluid, and I need to do an oil change at the same time. I figured I'd bring you guys along with me, show you guys what I do. That way maybe you won't feel so intimidated to tackle it yourself. Now, whether or not you're an expert or you're just starting to get the hang of things, working on your own vehicle provides no better satisfaction. Not only do you have the knowledge of knowing that you touched it, but you can also hold yourself accountable if you do something wrong. That being said, make sure that you gauge your mechanical ability correctly. If you don't feel confident in working on something, then don't try it yourself. But if you feel confident and you're handy around some tools, you could probably learn how to do something that you want to get done. So you are going to need some parts. These are the parts that you're going to need. These crush washers right here. Now, I went and picked up a cool ass hat to go with them at the dealership, but man, it was like 21 bucks just for those washers right there. I mean, the hat was some money, but 21 bucks just for those washers right there. Seems a bit excessive, but anyway, you need these washers. All right, so the first thing we have to do is we have to take off this skid plate, which is pretty cut and dry. Just look at how it's put on, unfasten it, and it'll come down. But be careful because it does have some weight to it. I don't necessarily know that this piece was held together by machine screws from the factory. I think those are aftermarket somebody put in there for me. That was nice of them. Doesn't even have one up there. Nice. So because Toyota cares, they give you a little hanger for the skid plate to hang out on, huh? How about that? To get to the differential though, we're also gonna have to take this middle one out. So that one I don't think is gonna be able to hang out. You got a bolt here, bolt there, bolt there, bolt there. 12mm socket. One of the coolest things about the DIY shop is the fact that you have air tools. All right, so now we have access to both the drain hole and the fill hole of the front differential here. Like I said, go ahead and take this time to take a look around and make sure that everything's looking in order. All right, so next on the list, you're gonna grab a, this is a number 10, and just loosen it. That's your fill plug. So when you take this one out, it's not going to shoot oil all over the place. However, this bottom one right here, it will shoot oil all over the place. All right, so the trick is to try to do this without making a huge mess. And that fluid may or may not be hot, depending on your trip. Boom ya. It doesn't look as bad as it could. It could look a lot worse. The cool thing is these drain plugs have big magnets on the end of them. And you can see that's on the end of this one. Let's go clean this off. Just in case you were wondering, that's 100,000 miles worth of tiny metal fragments from the front differential. I wonder what the back's gonna look like. And that's what she looks like, brand new. Cool. Needs to be replaced. This is like the little gasket for this guy. If you don't replace this, then you're going to take a chance of it leaking. Some of you guys might already be experts. It's cool. If you do keep this in there, that's completely on you. Just kind of pop it off with a little flathead screwdriver. It comes right out. Now I'm going to clean all that up and then get it ready for the new gasket. A little bit of a pro tip. Take some of this oil that's in there and get it around the threads of your drain plug there. Just going to make it just a tad bit easier. Of course, I say that it's easier when you're not holding your camera. Now look up the torque specs for this using Google Box. Figure out what your torque specs are, and you'll want to tighten it to torque. All right, so I found that the torque specs for this is 48 foot-pounds on this drain plug. Now this is important because one, you don't want it to leak. Two, these little gaskets are crush washers, and they need a certain amount of force in order to be crushed, so that way they work properly. So now comes the fun part. Putting the oil from your bottle back into this thing. I highly recommend getting one of these. This is a pump. This is going to allow you to do that a whole lot easier. Can you do it without it? Sure, you probably can. but this is gonna make it a whole lot easier. I got the link down in the description, so go check it out. If you're gonna order your fluids anyway, go ahead and pick this up. Now we could go back and forth all day long at the best type of oil to use, your preference, my preference, all that good stuff. I wanna make it real easy for you. Go by whatever the specs are, get whatever oil you want. I had an old mechanic tell me one time the best type of oil is clean oil. I've stuck by that for day one. So put clean oil in there, the right specifications, you'll be good to go. This is gonna take a little while. It's also gonna work you out.
7 hours later.
Oh, we got the end. To change bottles. And the capacity calls for 1.6. So we're just gonna get this about halfway there and it should start dripping out the top. And whenever it does, it means you're done. So use about half the bottle and then start looking for it to drip. Uh-oh, it'll drip more whenever you do that. There, now it's full. Give that a little shot ski. Clean it off. All right, now go ahead and put your crush washer back on. Just match it up with the one that came off of there. Put your fill hole bolt back in, and then tighten it to the proper specs. Now for my next trick, we're gonna drain the oil while we got the skid plate off here. Nothing real complicated about that, pretty cut and dry. You've probably done this already before, at least once, or otherwise you wouldn't be trying this entire project. But in case you haven't, here's the drain plug. I'm gonna undo that, and then the filter we're gonna get to in just a second. This is a size 14. Like a that. All right, so this is also 29 foot-pounds. I mean, I figured if we're, you know, torquing everything else, might as well torque this guy too. Now, like other Toyotas, the filter has got this weird canister about it that you have to get a special tool to change. Luckily, the DIY Garage Knox has this tool and their plethora of other tools, but if you don't have this tool available, then you'll need to pick one up before you change the oil filter. The way this tool works is you have to get it up onto, it's like a little crown action that you got there, and it's got these little wings on the side that you're trying to grab into. Jeez, buddy. Lord, mercy. We'll let that drain out just like that for a minute. There you go. Got you a little bit wet. So on this, once you get it off, there's going to be a little O-ring like this. Make sure that you got a new O-ring in your package. Whatever filter you decide to go with, just make sure it comes with that O-ring. Again, this is another one of those spots where we could go on for days about your preference in filters, my preference in filters, but a clean one's better than a dirty one all day, every day. All right, we're gonna go German torque specs on this. Good and tight. Sorry if you're German and offended, sorry. You can't joke like that nowadays, I forgot. So now we can move on over to the transfer case. This right here is gonna be your fill hole, your drain hole, and I believe that's gonna be a 24-inch size socket. Let's see. Score, found a 24. Just like before, the bottom one's gonna be what shoots all the oil out. Bow! Man, that doesn't look bad at all. Could have gone another 100,000 miles on this bad boy here, huh? Good looking oil. This oil has been clean. The front diff was really clean. This transfer case was really clean. Of course, the engine oil was dirty, but yeah, I tell you, I'm pretty impressed with how clean that oil was. Again, you're gonna wanna make sure that you take the little washers off. In this case, the washer stayed on there, so make sure that you get it off. You may need to get like a little flathead or something like that to pry it off. Whatever you do, you want to make sure that you get this off, like that. Yeah, these little washers right here. The Toyota dealership costs $22 for all the washers you need. Crazy. All right, once you get your crush washer on there, go ahead and get it tight. Remember those torque specs? You got to go back and look at the torque specs for the transfer case now. We're on the drain plug, so let's see what that looks like. 27 foot-pounds on this. Now that we got that done there, we're gonna go ahead and throw our pump in there and start pumping. Again, transfer case fluid is a specific style fluid. Whatever fluid you want is whatever fluid you want. Clean oil is better than dirty oil, so I live by that rule. This particular measurement is going to also be whenever it starts to run out. Right? Boom. So you plug back up there. So this is what I'm most interested in, seeing what the condition of the oil is, for a couple of reasons. One, it gets all the work, right? You're always moving these rear wheels versus the front wheel drive is only active in 4-wheel drive, right? So this gets all the wear. Also, these things are equipped with a breather that's up at the very top here on these differentials. What they're designed to do is let off some of the pressure. Sometimes whenever you go through a water crossing, they can let off the pressure rapidly and then somehow or another suck in some moisture, which is detrimental to the rear differential. That being said, a lot of people will take the time to do a rear differential breather relocation, which is basically just a cable that's ran to a higher point of the vehicle, so that way they don't have to worry about sucking in any water. We'll be able to tell if I've sucked in any water over the past few years by the way that this fluid looks. So let's go ahead and get the dirt and everything out from here, so that way I can actually access the drain bolt, and then we'll go ahead and drain it and see what it looks like. Actually not as bad as what I expected it to be. Again, I'm super impressed with how good of condition these fluids are all in after 100,000 miles. Now, this is probably not as good as the other ones. It may have had a little bit of water in it, but it's not milky. Had it have been real milky or grayish, then that would have been a surefire indicator that it's had a lot of water in it. This hadn't had a lot of water in it. Not a whole lot of metal shavings on anything as well, which is also phenomenal. Super impressed and super happy about this. Yes, sir. Put that bad boy back in there. Now we need to put almost 3 quarts back in this thing, so we're gonna be pumping for a minute. It'll run out when it's full, but you want to make sure that your truck is level. However you've got it jacked up or lifted, make sure that it's level.
Many hours later.
There it is. Go ahead and put our bolt back in. So we're going to be doing 36 foot-pounds on this bad boy. With a little shot ski. All right, so the transfer case and both differentials are now full of brand new oil. All I got left to do on the bottom here is put together that skid plate, put it back on, get it back down, fill it up with oil, be ready to go. Get these started by hand, then do the rest with your air tools. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that because my skid plate is all bashed up and all, that's the reason that these screws are harder to take on and off. I don't know how else to fix that other than just get a different skid plate. If you remember, somebody was nice enough here to leave me missing one of them. So on the front right is missing. That's supposed to have some stuff holding it up, but the skid plate is so bashed up that, well, it's not allowing for anything to hold it up. Good and tight. It's not going nowhere. So that's all we need, right? Hey, I'm interested to know down below in the comments, do you have some of these little screws holding up your plastic pieces? Or is that just a modification that my local mechanics have made? I mean, it sounds silly, but is it really silly if it works? Put some oil in there, 6.6 quarts. So before you take the oil, make sure that you turn it on, let it all cycle through there pretty good. Take a look at it. It's the second dot and clean. We're good to go. That guy has seen better days. Yo, so I almost forgot one important detail. That is to reset the maintenance required light. So let me show you how to do that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the trip button here, and we're gonna make it to where it says trip A. I already passed it, trip A right there. Now we're gonna turn off the car. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit and hold that same button, and then I'm gonna turn it 2 clicks. See it do a little countdown? Boom, reset. Now that guy's good for another 5,000 miles when I gotta rotate the tires. Hey, I hope that you guys learned a little something about how you can take care of doing your own fluids, take care of your own maintenance. Maintenance is imperative to making these vehicles last a long time, but more importantly, it's imperative if you take these things off the beaten trail and you're not near any kind of service facilities or anything like that, you want to make sure that your vehicle's in tip-top condition. One of the easiest ways to do it is to find a DIY shop near you, like the DIY Garage Knox. If you can't, then at least be able to do it on your own, or at least take it to a dealership to get the service is done. Just make sure that you do all the preventative maintenance like the owner's manual tells you to do. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button if you like what you saw. Hit that subscribe button to see more like it. And until next time, peace.